Now an update on a CBS News investigation that revealed more than 11,000 military children under the age of 5 are waiting for government-provided child care. And in some cases, Special Forces soldiers in Florida were juggling up to 3 hours of commuting every day for child care. Driving from their home in Crestview, Florida, past their training base at Campbell Simons, 20 miles away, home to the elite Green Berets, and then to where the Army offered child care spots another 20 miles to the south on Eglin Air Force Base. Speaking exclusively with CBS News, Secretary Christine Wormuth, the first woman to lead the Army, told us a new child care center is planned for the Special Forces base as part of a broader strategy to address the shortages. We're going to start with child care at Campbell Simons in Florida. How did you get involved?
Well, I first heard about the situation there when I was down at U.S. Army Special Operations Command, and I was meeting with a group of women to learn about sort of women in Army Special Operations, and a command sergeant major brought it to my attention. She said, look, you know, this place, people are driving an hour each way to get their kids, and can you help with that?
Mm-hmm. As a working mother, is child care personal?
It's absolutely personal. I mean, I have personally had that experience of racing to drop my kids off at the daycare center and get into work on time, or racing to get out to pick them up and sort of being the last parent to pick them up and getting the stink eye from the workers.
Do you see this among your own staff?
I do. A good percentage of folks in my immediate office, which is about 30 people, have kids under 5, either, you know, here in the daycare center or in, you know, other daycare centers in the surrounding area.
Was it impactful to hear from soldiers like Chelsea, who had to quit the service, and military moms like Molly, whose child was on the waiting list, 17 waiting lists?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I never want to lose a great soldier and family because they can't get childcare or because they're not happy with their housing. So those, you know, hearing directly from soldiers is always very useful for me.
Was the CBS News investigation impactful?
I think the story did a great job of really, you know, letting people know how it's directly impacting Army families. So yes, I think it's very helpful.
How did you work with the Air Force Secretary to get this done?
Well, really, I think what we were able to do was just lift the problem up to a little bit higher level and kind of get it out of some of the bureaucratic back and forth. I think it helped that Frank Kendall and I have worked together for many years and have a lot of trust, but I think both the Army and the Air Force wanted to find a solution.
You deal with dozens of national security decisions every day. Why did child care rise to the top?
Well, I think, you know, we ask an extraordinary amount from our soldiers and their families, and the last thing they need is another thing to be worrying about. You know, worrying about when are they going to get off the wait list? Why are they spending 2 hours a day commuting back and forth to drop their children off? They just don't need to have that additional burden, and I think that's why it matters, because we want to be able to recruit the best. We want to keep families in the Army, and if we're taking worries off their plate, that helps.
We heard from soldiers that the child care shortage was really impacting the mission. Was that concerning to you?
Absolutely. You know, again, we don't want a situation where someone is distracted from, you know, the main thing, which is doing their job, because they're worried about their kids. Or we don't want to lose a good soldier because, you know, someone who decides not to re-enlist because they weren't able to make the child care work. We've got about 40,000 soldiers who are single parents, and for them, the child care really can be a make or break situation.
And how does that break down in terms of single fathers and single mothers?
Well, somewhat surprisingly, actually 30,000 of those 40,000 are dads, are single dads. And again, you know, that's, if you don't have child care and you're a single parent, it's a big problem.
The country is looking for child care solutions. What's your approach?
Well, part of what we're doing is trying to make sure we're recruiting the best staff. We have actually great facilities and everyone is fully certified, but we're in a war for talent, frankly. So we're trying to raise our pay, have retention bonuses for our staff in CDCs. We're trying to help them with training.
You've worked in the national security space for more than 2 decades. We're in a period with the war in Ukraine, with China flexing its muscle in the Pacific. Have you ever seen a more challenging threat environment?
No, this is certainly the most challenging threat environment in my professional career, and I've seen a lot. I was working in the Pentagon in 9/11, saw the end of the Cold War. It's a very dangerous time.
And with this threat environment, is that why it's also important to resolve something as basic as childcare?
Yes, again, I think we've got to, we say in the Army, people first, and that means giving people good childcare, good housing, good professional development. And if we want to get the best and keep the best, we have to be able to do that.